So something crazy happened earlier this weekend, or early over the weekend. And this is kind of like before Twitter and social media, but growing up, one of like my big like childhood stars was this wrestler named Sergeant Slaughter. And by chance, Sergeant Slaughter lived like a couple of neighborhoods over from us. And back in the day when Slaughter was a bad guy, like at the time, he was like beating up on Bob Backlund, who was the equivalent of like some MIT guy starting some crypto thing. And he was just really boring. So Slaughter, I remember, beats up Backlund on this thing called a Harvard stress test, trying to go up and down these stairs. And everybody hated Backlund. I mean, everybody hated Slaughter for it. Then Slaughter was the bad guy, and they used to write "Go Home Gomer" on his door of his building. Like, he was one of the first entrepreneurs I'd ever seen, because he bought the entire building that he lived in. But people knew which door he lived in, and you could always see "Go Home Gomer" painted on his door. You'd see him around town in his limousine. He had a what do you call it? Camouflage limousine. You're like, oh my God, Sergeant Slaughter was that, like at the grocery store. You're like, no way.
Oh, it was like a camo Hummer or something like that.
Yeah, no, he used to have a.
Oh, this is a legit limo.
He used to have a legit limo that was camouflage, and when he showed up, it was like greater than the ice cream man. You're like, yo, Sergeant Slaughter's here. So then Slaughter becomes like a good guy, and people stop painting "Go Home Gomer" on his door, and they start painting his doors, making sure there's fresh coats of paint when he was out for a period of time. I hit Slaughter up on Twitter. It's like, hey, my hero from Thousand Oaks, man. I know some people that painted "Go Home Gomer" on your door. He laughed, gave me back a salute, and we follow each other. Maybe that's how Twitter should work. Funny stories, ties to your childhood, and everybody gets a laugh.
Well, you know what that means. Now you got to get him on the program. You got to get him on here.
Listen here, maggots. Yeah. You know what? I might as well ask him to get here probably when we get around WrestleMania time. I'll see if I can get him on the show for sure.
He could give a stern talking to like the coaching staff of the Pats and be like, what are you doing with Mac Jones?
Yeah, they wouldn't buy it because it is pro wrestling.